How do we know that we're dreaming the right dream? That we're hitching our wagon to the right star? Wanting the right things? And what to do if you find out that you've gained the whole world but lost your soul? Last week, my sermon was about dealing with the fact that we can't always get what we want. Because people who don't figure out how to deal with the fact that we don't get everything we want are the saddest people in the world. They're the grown-up version of the child who on Christmas morning did not get everything he wanted, and who then spends the holidays pouting and angry and self-absorbed, even while surrounded by many gifts and family and love. But today is about what to do when we do get what we want, and then find out that it's not what we need. Not what we need to be happy and healthy and fulfilled. Because some of us are pretty good at getting what we want, and all of us get what we want sometimes. But despite having more than we've ever had, the level of dissatisfaction in our culture is at an all-time high. Americans have more things, more choices, and more access to information than any people in history. And yet, studies show that our sense of dissatisfaction continues to swell. Columnist Ellen Goodman writes, "Normal is getting dressed in clothes you buy for work, driving through traffic in a car that you're still paying for, in order to get to the job that you need so that you can pay for the clothes and the car and the house that you leave empty all day in order to afford to live in it." Now, this may not be your exact story, but you get the point that we can easily get caught in a pattern that has us running in circles like a dog chasing its own tail. We're reminded by psychology that just because millions share the same mental pathology does not make those people sane. There's a kind of mass psychosis in our culture that involves a dogged pursuit of more. No matter what we have, we never seem to feel that we have enough. This is not an attempt to psychoanalyze American culture, because I don't think it's a mental illness as much as a soul sickness. Before she died, Mother Teresa came to America to receive an honorary degree. And she said, "This is the poorest place I've ever been in my life." Now, the nun from the fetid slums of Calcutta obviously was not talking about financial poverty. She was talking about poverty of the soul. A book came out this decade called Affluenza. It describes a virus that's much deadlier than the H1N1 virus. Affluenza is a sickness that has developed from the growing affluence in our culture. The unquenchable drive for more is an STD, a socially transmitted disease. It leads to overload, debt, anxiety, and waste. The mental symptoms include being stressed out, disconnected, and overwhelmed. And the physical symptoms include heart disease, cancer, headaches, back pain, and more. In the book, it says that just before he died of a brain tumor, Republican campaign strategist Lee Atwater made a confession. The 80s, he said, were about acquiring wealth, power, prestige. I know, he said, I acquired more wealth, power, and prestige than most. But you can acquire all you want and still feel empty. He warned that there was a spiritual vacuum at the heart of American society. He called it a tumor of the soul. Now, you need to know that I love this country. its people, its principles, and its land. But my concern is what informs our values and decisions? What star are we following? Do you know that 20 years ago there were more high schools than shopping centers in America? And today there are twice as many shopping centers as high schools. 70% of Americans visit malls every week, which is many more than attend houses of worship. In many ways, malls have replaced churches and synagogues as the symbol of cultural values. We used to look to religion to show us how to achieve the good life, but now we look for it at the Galleria. You've probably heard of the Mall of America in Minnesota, the country's largest mall. Maybe you've made a pilgrimage. To this American cathedral. And I'm not joking in calling it a cathedral. People actually get married at the Mall of America. Now, I realize that 2 weeks before Christmas is probably a crazy time to preach against malls. I bet that half of the people here have plans to go out after church today and go shopping. And I imagine that I'll probably visit a mall or two before Christmas. But my point is not about malls. It's about us. If you think that the mall is where you can buy the good life, then you're in trouble. Soon you'll be in bed with affluenza. Part of it has to do with the incredible number of choices that we have today. I mean, when I was a kid, everyone I knew had the same phone. There was one, maybe two models of phones to choose from. And today, there are so many options that after we buy something, there's often a question of whether we made the right choice. We worry that we missed something, that there may be a better one out there. And sometimes it carries over into our relationships. So that people start wondering if they made the right choice. People go from questioning whether there's a better phone or a better house out there to wondering if there's a better spouse out there. We can become so used to using things and then throwing them away and replacing them that when we can start looking at our relationships and people as disposable. I doubt there's anyone who hasn't at some time found themselves at night asking, is this really my life, my wife? And wanting it to be different. There's nothing unusual about a person reflecting on decisions they've made and roads not taken. The challenge is not having the questions arise. The challenge is finding the right answer. Because when we're confronted with doubts about our life, or despair about our predicament, or unfulfilled yearnings that won't go away, there's helpful ways to navigate this terrain. And it has to do with how we relate to our longings. Because when we start feeling longing, we usually start focusing on our lacking. We feel a longing for respect, and immediately we start wanting a bigger, more expensive car. We have a longing for respect, but we think we're lacking a proper set of wheels. We long to feel attractive and beautiful, and so we think we need a closet full of new clothes. It's not a new wardrobe that we're lacking, it's something internal that we long for. When we're feeling we're lacking the latest, greatest electronic gizmo, when in fact we're really longing for something worthwhile to do with our life.